argument is not about numbers, it is about values. Because on one side, you have folks who believe that we can slash education funding by 25% or transportation funding by 30% or investments in clean energy by 70%, and we can turn the Medicare system into a voucher program so that we're shifting costs onto seniors. It's a vision of a small America, of a shrunken America. And then there's another vision that says we can live within our means as a government. We can act responsibly in terms of our budget, but we can make sure that the burden is shared.
Welcome back to Morning Joe.
I think I scared Sarah with my USA chant.
I think he might have, let's just say, put her off a little bit.
I thought it was very funny. Caddy talked about you Americans coming into Trafalgar Square. And Billy goes, it really is a huge set. My family went up on the London Eye.
Ridiculous.
I would never do that. It's like Ferris wheels. I don't do them. But they said they could see our set.
This is the London eyesore.
Our set?
Yes.
Oh, it is not. This is a beautiful set.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Beautiful.
It's wonderful. We just wouldn't. I mean, we wouldn't have the self-confidence to do it. That's all.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have the money to do it. Actually, that's the problem. But we wouldn't have the sort of chutzpah to be able to say, right, we are going to go into Trafalgar Square and build a socking great set for this.
Yeah.
Well, we're very fortunate.
But I think it's fabulous.
It is.
I wish we did. I mean, I think it's a failing of ours.
Roger?
More US coverage of the royal wedding than in England and Australia combined.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Sad but true. I don't know
really?
what it says.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know if Sarah was offended by your. I think the inner Sarah, the inner American, she almost joined along with the chant.
I think she liked it. She twitched a little bit, a little nervous.
Yeah, she was
nervous because she has to live here. You know, we fly back on Saturday. She has to stay here.
Undercover.
Well, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Now, you know who's so excited about the wedding?
Oh, Pat Toomey.
Yeah, he keeps talking about it. And he was like calling me last night. And he's like, Mika,
you know, it's
please let me come
listen,
on Morning
let me tell you
Joe.
something. He is such a royalist that
I know.
Actually, when we served in Congress together, he was still talking about the 1981 wedding between Diana and Charles. You go into his office,
So
he had a
romantic.
big framed picture of Prince Charles.
He's a
So Pat
romantic
Toomey,
guy.
this is your week, my man.
Joe, I thought you weren't
How are
going
you
to tell
doing?
everybody, but I have to say I'm really disappointed you didn't invite me to join you in London. You know, Willie jets off to Paris, no invitation. Here I am stuck in New York. Gosh, I'm disappointed.
It is. Look at it. It's sad. You have been sat in a corner just like Chuck Schumer.
I'm all by myself in an empty studio. You guys are having all the fun, you know.
Absolutely terrible. Hey, you know, Pat, we are having trouble with sirens. They're coming to take me away from my USA chant. So let me throw it to you, a real quick question. The president, obviously, as we were bumping in, talking about two visions of an America, the Republicans with a small vision, his with a more fair vision. Do you think we're just posturing here on the left and on the right, and in the end, there's a grand bargain in the center?
No, there's a big difference. You know, very candidly, I think there is a substantive difference not in the way I wouldn't characterize it the way the president put it. I think he's got a vision for a much bigger government. I think he's been pretty open about that. He's calling for a much larger government, more spending, higher taxes. And to the credit of Paul Ryan and House Republicans, they've proposed an alternative. It's a much bigger America, but one that accomplishes it with a smaller government. What the president needs to do is get specific now. He gave us a budget where he completely punted on all the tough challenges. He didn't take on any of the structural problems we face, the fact that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. And then he came along later and gave a speech where he derided and he mocked this very serious budget attempt by the Republicans. Look, you can disagree with it. That's perfectly fine. But I thought it was really inappropriate for the president to suggest that it lacked courage and it wasn't serious. That's a serious attempt to deal with the long-term problems we have, and we need the president to get engaged with this.
Now, can you explain something to me? We're told that the Ryan budget is so extreme and it cuts so much, and yet even if we passed Paul Ryan's budget as is, we would still add over $5 trillion to our national debt over the next decade. Why is it that there's no way to actually cut spending?
Well, the budget that the Republicans passed, Paul Ryan's budget and the House Republican budget, does cut some spending. But the thing that is described as a draconian cut is taking the level of federal spending in many categories all the way back to where it was in 2008. Now, that's not ancient history in my book, and I think that's the kind of thing that we need to do. I think the other point I would make about the fact that it does project to increase debt over time, the Ryan budget is very conservative about revenue estimates, very conservative about the economic growth rates. And I think that if we adopted the tax reforms that he's called for, if we put the federal government on a sustainable fiscal path, frankly, I think we'd see so much economic growth that the actual deficit numbers would be much, much smaller than even the Republican budget projects.
And Senator, if you had to make 2 or 3 changes to the Republican plan, what would they be?
Well, I'm working with a group of colleagues in the Senate to on exactly that question. Is there a way that we can, get a consensus among Republicans in the Senate? I'm not sure that we can. I do think that the growth response, the pro-growth economic response of the tax reform and the entitlement reform is much stronger than what the Republican budget projects. So in that sense, I think we could make a case for recognizing that. But it really puts us on a path that would be sustainable. And as I say, it's fair game for the president to disagree, but he ought to offer an alternative vision.
All right, Senator Pat Toomey, thank you very much. We'll see you back in,
You're missed here.
Washington. Yeah.
You are missed here,
Thanks
Pat.
for having me in New York, at least. Good to see you guys.
All
right.
We're going to check in.